I have to, the be'emes normal means, normal means to be like yourself. How? I gave him a marshal. If you have a car, kids both like cars, you get a rental car, you ask your father for the keys to the, let's say you went home, and you ask, there was then a car, you ask your father for the keys to the car, and the father said, go take the keys to the car, but do me a favor, drive the car normally. So using the same word, how does the word in that sentence? Drive it legally, drive it safely, drive it normally, but it means drive the car the way it was designed to be driven. Drive the car means drive the car the way every car is designed to be driven a certain way. For example, you can get a big high, you drive in a car wild, as you would say. If you get into the car, you put your foot, your foot first on the brake, and then putting the drive, and then slowly putting it on the gas pedal. You do differently. First you put on the gas pedal, you rev up the engine, and then when the engine goes very, very fast, then you put the gear into drive, and the car bolts out very fast, and you have a high. What's the problem with doing it that way? The problem is that you're wearing out the transmission. Why is that happening? Because you're attacking not driving the car the way it was designed to be driven. Now take it back to yourself. If you find out who you are, you're Yid. So being normal means being a Yid. Really being normal means, in the same way, when you drive the car normally, then the car lasts a long time, and you enjoy the car for a much longer time. Rather, you have these spurts of highs and fun. When you go fun, you're actually bringing up the car will get destroyed on you. So if a Yid lives his life like a goy, then it will work out that he may have a moment of excitement. What he's actually doing to himself is actually burning himself out because he's not who he is. This, I think, is what Emunah is. Emunah, the bottom of the whole story is that he went by himself and everyone asked him. He went to his room and Mordechai Shabbos, he took the sign off. He took it down. Obviously, it spoke to him. And the message, but for this context we're talking tonight, how do you teach Emunah and talking to children is, first of all, you have to know who you're talking to. You're talking to a person who has a neshama. And as far as his neshama is concerned, he understands about Emunah more than you think he does. And if I can, because he's a child, and he just came down to this world, and the Sefer is not mature, his Emunah, his Bitachon happens to be at a lot more greater refined level than you think it is, because Sefer actually hides over Emunah Bitachon. And therefore, and when you do that, that's how you get happy. That's how you get yourself happy. When you try to have a momentary high by bringing that person has seichel, that midas, a person can do things, so you can get a momentary high. If it goes against the way Hashem created us, you see this Hamish in Tanya. I'm sure you all know that Tanya has 5 parts to it, Tanya, and the Alter Rebbe put the first part of Tanya about Putei Morim, which talks about the neshama, the shakis, the shabamis. And Ersh, the second chelik, he talks about Shayich Emunah, about the Eibishter. Why? So the Rebbe points out that he puts in that number, the Shayich Emunah, he puts in hints that he actually wanted to start the Tanya off with Shayich Emunah. The Pale, he decided to put, the Alter Rebbe decided to put the first part, as we know it today, about the Eid that has enough Shalikiz, has enough Shabamis, and Ersh later talks about the Eibishter and the oneness of the Eibishter. Why? The Chayra, if you had, without ever had an idea to do it first, or others, first you say this, the Rambam, the Chelchavovitz, they all start with the Yichud, the Emunah. So why did the Alter Rebbe start out with describing who he is? And they could say, maybe, I didn't see this anywhere, but the Emes, you can say exactly what we're saying now. That before you even get to talk about the Eibishter, which could be an abstract idea, you have to first understand who you are. Once you know that you're a Nefesh Shalikiz, that the Nefesh Shalikiz comes down into a book that has Nefesh Shabamis, but you're a Nefesh Shalikiz, then now you can start talking about the Eibishter, because then you feel close to it, because you feel that it's not some abstract, it's actually part of you. And that's how you're going to find Simcha, and that's how you find Menucha, and that's how you're going to find all the answers to all the questions. It's a story that I say many times, if you heard of it before, but my wife said I must say the story over, so I'll say the story over. And we had a very interesting experience in a place called prison with our children. And this is also the defining moment. You can remember see how a child can and does act on the recognition of the Eibishter. in the visiting room, the principal prison, you have visiting rooms, and let out the family and friends come to visit, and then the prisoner would come inside dressed up in according to Kazay. And that was the visit. So you overcame the bashfulness, and you had a good time with your family. The Baruch Hashem was there, was without a glass. It was across the table. And they got to be seated, and there were two guards watching. In that room there was a ice cream machine. And this ice cream machine had ice cream that had the ice cream without any symbol of kashrus. And then they had ice cream that had a little symbol of something there, and a little D next to it. And I would like to say the D really stands for disaster, for danger, for don't eat it. That's what this really stands for. But some people think it stands for dairy. It's something we don't eat. And my youngest kid then, he was 4 years old. He's 4 years old when they took me out and I was trying to describe a child who lived through trauma, who lived through a very hard life. At 4 years old, he saw cops coming into the house, handcuffing the father, shutting them away. Father's not home, not Shabbos. Then he comes to visit his father in jails, the windows, dressed in arms clothes, and visiting him. He never even got used to the fact the first year he must cried. He came to visit and they couldn't understand why I'm going one door, he's going to another door. I was trying to describe that this kid had a hard time, and look how even he was able to talk with him in a more different way. He understood and he found the kayach. Now, interestingly enough, why am I so my children never had to come out to any external Sachen. They lived through the whole Australian in a way. They went to yeshiva, they remained normal, Baruch Hashem, without any external medicines or people. Everything came straight from the Torah. They watched us, how we lived with Emunah, and everything's from the Eibishter, the Eibishter will help, and everything is Gamzul Teva, and it'll be a good that we could also see, and that's how they lived, that they followed it. They followed it. I'm sure there were moments of difficulty, but they overcame the Shabbamis with the Shabbatis. So here he's now 8.5 years old at the time of this story, and he notices one day he was sitting there, he was told that soon they're bringing Chol B'Yisrael ice cream. And he's waiting for the day. It was one hot spring day, and he notices how he comes into the visiting room, and he didn't know that these stands for danger, and he goes over to the machine, and he buys 2 pieces of ice cream for himself and for the visitor he's visiting, and they sit down eating ice cream. This little boy is certain that the eating Chol B'Yisrael. He yanks me on my sleeve and says, Tati, they brought you took a Chol B'Yisrael, they got it here. It's hot, he wants to have ice cream. I gave him a look and I saw from the wrapper that it's not fried ice cream. So I told him, I'm sorry, but this is, they eat it. I fumbled for words how to explain why they're eating it and why we can't eat it, but the bottom line is we can't have it. I thought we okay with it. We were okay with it for a few years already. And, but I guess seeing other people eating it, or because it was hot, whatever it was, he got a hold of him, and he started kvetching that he needs ice cream. And he started kvetching the way 8-year-old knows how to kvetch. And in a prison visiting room, kvetching is not tolerated. And if they're going through his antics for like 10-15 minutes, he's kvetching and talking, getting up. The guy calls him over and tells him, Rubashkin, if you get the kid quiet, it's good, and if not, I'm throwing you out. They're going out, and the visit is being terminated. Now, I very badly wanted to be with my family. It was oxygen for me. So I tried to reason to his little kid's intellect, listen, Ingela, we stay together, a good time with his mother, my wife, and the sister, we were all together, a family. We have it once a week, but take it easy. The guy just said if you keep on with your reflection, he's going to throw you out. And I have to go back in there, it was very hard. Let's just sit around together. Yeah. He sees that he's getting his way, so he doubles down. And he understands. I understand that, but it's very hard, and I must have to. It's not my depression, I can't get him to calm down. And he gets up, starts walking around from the heat, he gets here. So the guard, they get so crazy when they're walking around. They're afraid of the movements, they can't control it. The kids are. I figured let me speak to his need. So give him a present. I'll talk to his to gain something. The whole thing. So if you wait an hour, and mommy will go back to Muncie. Muncie will buy Chol B'Yisrael, and you'll get ice cream. The man will buy 2 ice creams. He needs it now. 3 ice creams. He needs it now, 4 ice creams now, 5 ice creams now. I figure somewhere here he's going to give in. Come on. For 1 hour, 6 ice creams. I got all the way to 10 ice creams. It wasn't budging. He needs ice cream now. Like you want Mashiach now, he wants ice cream now. They get it, done it well. And Emes is it. Emes is why wasn't giving him ice cream? I think it's a different subject, maybe it's a different subject because Emunah, our Emunah is fed from the Neshama. That's what's so important to first know who we are. Our Emunah is not a safe thing to think, it's from the Neshama. If a Neshama is tired, if a Neshama is pure, the Emunah can express itself powerfully and strongly enough to help you. If you overdose your Neshama with guk and insulation things and cover the Neshama over, then that's okay. The only reason these kids were growing up happy and able to go to the Neshama because they had a certain kayach that allowed them to rise above the pain of a separation from the father. If you take that away, because I wasn't denying man, if I can't, I was careful. He should eat something that's actually take away from the kayach to overcome the Neshama as it does. So I understood his pain, but I couldn't give him something that would hurt him. So the kid said, the God called me a second time. It also shows that the God had a different way of looking at me. And interestingly enough, when the Eibster freed me, one of the guys that was still inside told me they overheard one guard trying to describe me to other guards. Some knew me by name, Rubashkin was free, they knew me. Other guards didn't know me. So they asked, who's this guy? The guy said, who's this guy? So one guard said, tell me, you know the guy that was always happy? I never ever thought that they were trying. I thought that guy was very religious, the guy was always stubborn. How are they happy? That's not that. So the ego of the want is the inner happiness that emanates. The kid says, so that happens at my kids. That's preserved by even Kasha. So he called me home. He told me I'm doing a second morning. They don't do a second morning typically in prison. And if you don't get him calm, I'm going to stop. So I go back. These are one of the moments in life you never forget. I sat down. I was torn. One side, this poor kid is hot. He wants ice cream. So I decided to go home. I'll say that I don't want to go back home. I want to be with my family. How do I talk to this kid to get him to stop this that I have to? Why am I talking to his Seichel? Why am I talking to the Neshama so he can gain from the whole story? Why did I talk to the Neshama? I don't talk to him the exact way I talk to myself when I have an issue. I have a second, and you have to. You one side of you wants to do something, the other doesn't want to do. How do you deal with this? I said to him, listen, you have 2 choices here. He looks at me and I said, one choice you have is that you can have ice cream right now. I wasn't going to give it to him. The choice was there. If you say that, I was coming to go home. But I said, one choice you can have ice cream right now. And you'll be happy, right? Because you got the ice cream, you're expressing so much for it, but the Eibster won't be happy. The second choice you have is later now, the mommy will buy a ice cream. I didn't say 10 ice creams on purpose. I wanted to see what's going to happen. Now I was on to a test even more. I wanted to see what's going to happen. So I said, mommy will buy ice cream, you get out in an hour and a half, and then you'll be happy, got ice cream, and Hashem will be happy. Which one do you want? I watched this little kid's face. These little 8-year-olds have a little face, and you see that fellow thinking of thought, and he's trying to figure out what I just said. He's trying to put it together. If you have something now that only he'll be happy, the neighbors won't be happy, or if you wait an hour and a half, and then he'll be happy, he'll be happy, and then you saw the click come on, he got it, and he stopped talking about ice cream. It's amazing. He didn't say, okay, what should I do? I'll go there. He just stopped. And now that he stopped talking about ice cream, he actually did me a favor. He knew what he was doing. What do you do now? Now he stopped fresh eye. What do you do? Let's half an hour we're fighting with the cats and dogs and about something. What are you talking about now? He started talking about tomorrow's going on a trip. He remembers his conversation like there was never any problem until now. You got it? I learned then 2 things. One thing I learned is what 10 ice creams couldn't do. I also got 10 ice creams. He needed it now. But knowing that the Eibster is happy with him, did it. Nobody turned on the air conditioner. Nobody made it less hot for the kid. He didn't get his way. Whatever motivates a kid to get into these things. But knowing that what he's doing makes a difference, and I want to talk to him. The Eibster is happy with him. Mitamol, that gave him the kayach to mitamol. overcome the heat and his need to have ice cream. He didn't want the ice cream very badly. His brain, he needed it very badly. And I was able to overcome it simply by knowing that what he's doing is making him happy. That's Emunah for you. And the second thing I learned, and this goes back to just learned about Tanya, is that the MS, a Yid can never be happy. And this I learned this 8.5 years. I learned this before, and after also. But this place for prison was a good, very visual. A Yid can never be happy if the Abish is not happy. You can dreya him, dreya her, and go through all the phases in life. You want to go through the phases because that's who you are. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is telling you when you start learning Tanya. Before you get to the Abish, he wants to let you know that you have an neshama. And the neshama is that's exactly who you are, and therefore he teaches you have 10 kefes, and you have the masham b'maisa, and the Abish gave you a wonderful present, wonderful understating it, gave you the most amazing present. He gives you the Torah, a mitzvah through which you can connect with him. You can actually connect with the infinite Abish that creates all this, or you become a behemoth. You could choose to do something which is ungodly, and be down in the pit. So you think it's not even a choice, because how could you be happy if they're not happy if you're Chelek? That's who you are. If you can't see the reason that you're going to do something that the Abish is not happy. I don't know if the kid analyzed it like this, but the MS, this is true, and this is the kid, if we logically understood it this way, or if we sensed it that way, this is exactly what it is. By allowing the neshama to express itself in the mitzvahs, that's the simcha you have. That's a simcha that can't be badly well. You can't go on any vacation to get that. You can't buy any house for that. Of course, you have to go on vacation. Of course, you have to have a house. Everybody, all the brachas, but the emes happiness that comes from the inside of the neshama. So, talking about teaching Emunah, talking about children, that's the Yisayid. The Yisayid is the Rambam starts out and says it that way. Every mechanech knows the first thing they teach you in school is that you're a Yid. And she's proud to be a Yid. You're a Ben Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov, you're Bas started Baruch Leah. You talk about the greatness of our office, you talk about Matan Torah. And then personally I grew up in a place called Borough Park. And Borough Park when I grew up was not Borough Park when I grew up was not the Borough Park of today. It was actually a lot more modern than the Yidden that did today. But there was also a lot of Italians, and there was a lot of Puerto Ricans on the outskirts of the little place. And many times, as children, in the Crown Heights, today you don't see it so much, but we are in the Crown Heights in the 70s, when I was there as a bucket, there were a lot of fights. And the fight was started not because he tried to steal your wallet, which also was a possibility. The fight started because they called you a dirty Jew. Jewish boys wear yarmulkes and have tzitzis, and they're very visible. And when they saw me, or my friends, they would taunt us and make fun of us. It never occurred to us to feel anything other than proud to be a Jew, and we fought for that pride. Why? Because in our yeshiva, and our teachers put into us that it's not a concern to be a Jew. I, the guy down the block making fun of you, we had a good self-esteem about ourselves, because we knew that we are somebody that nobody else has. We're Yidden. We have a neshama. We're the nation that Hashem chose. And the guy hates us for that. We were told that about Esav and Yaakov. But that didn't diminish our going Yaakov of pride. So when it was challenged, and it turned Mount into a fist fight, we fought. Most times we won, sometimes we lost. I got beat up. But it never, the Yisayid, I'm trying to bring it out how this comes down to good self-esteem. It comes out to being able to do the right move is to teach the children that the Emunah means not only there is an Eibishter. Abraham Avinu didn't only believe there is an Eibishter somewhere in the sky. Abraham Avinu knew that the Eibishter is with him. He's never alone. Abraham Avinu understood the Hashem Pratis very well. He taught it to us. Abraham Avinu understood that the Eibishter creates us every second, and when you recognize the Eibishter is with you, how do you know? Then when you know the Eibishter knows you. And that's the story in the Medrash. That he's like walking by it when he said, Yesh Balabayis Virozu, when he said there must be a creator to this palace, That's when the owner from the palace revealed himself. So how did it work? First, he had to search and find Eibishter. Once he found Eibishter, the Eibishter revealed himself. So they could start out from Seichel. They could start out from learning. But the ultimate Emunah comes when the Eibishter reveals himself. The ultimate Emunah comes when the Neshama, when you're in the Neshama, suddenly has a Neshama, and Neshama can feel the Eibishter with a greater, how do you say about those? Greater certainty than Seichel can. Thank you. There's certainty. Everybody thinks that if you can explain something, everybody thinks if you can explain something, then that Avados is there. I can explain that 2 plus 2 is 4, the Haraya has to be 4. The Seichel, as Seichel can reach the world of logic and understanding, the Neshama is able to know Bavados that the Eibishter is there, because it's in the Neshama, it knows it. Obviously, since the Eibishter is higher than Seichel, so it knows it in the way it's higher than Seichel, but with less certainty. It's not a belief that so it starts out by you learning, but when it ultimately comes to you, there's a sense, you know when you feel it most? You know what you have to know from it. When in a place called prison, when all Seichel stops working, you don't understand what's going on, when you can't make sense of why this is all happening to you, you go through a very hard and soil. We'll talk about it soon. When your Seichel gives up, that's when the Neshama can express itself, and that's why people going through the same have a certain Emunah that other people don't have, because there's nothing lacking. Not because they're in trouble, they have no choice, and that's why they have Emunah. It's because when a person has a tzara, he realizes Seichel can't reach the Eibishter, and that's because then it becomes a cave for the Eibishter to come to him. And that brings us to the meaning of Kabbalah Seder Shemayim. There has to be an element of Kabbalah Seder Shemayim, because Seichel ultimately comes to explain things that exist, and the Eibishter is higher than existence. So in order for us to reach and touch, or be the Eibishter to come into us, we have to have the element of Gila Shemayim, we have the element of Kabbalah Seder. We're Chabad. We're Chabad because the Alter Rebbe wants us to understand as much as we can understand, but our foundation of why we believe in the Eibishter is not Chabad. Learn any Maimon, learn any Sikha, hear anything you want to have from any of the Rabbeim, you'll always find that the biggest Bala is Mesiris Nefesh. Mesiris Nefesh was Chalabavitcher. And Mesiris Nefesh has nothing to do with Seichel. Seichel only allowed the first part of Avraham Avinu's search for the Eibishter. Seichel took away the block, but I don't understand, so it took that away. But once you take away the Seichel, then the Emunah can come out. That's when you have Mesiris Nefesh. So I want one more story, and then I want why I gave you out, why we passed around this mime. I want to point out something which I think is very important to know, and two nekudas. The story like this: that Baal Shem Tov had many talmidim, as we know, and the story is, this is story brought out by Rabbi Zevin in the parasha. He writes down how the Talmidei of Baal Shem Tov once asked of the Rebbe, Baal Shem Tov, he asked them to please, they asked them that you want to be zecher to see Eliyahu Navi. If you see Eliyahu Navi, even if you don't know it's Eliyahu Navi, you're seeing Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi sometimes appears as a poor person, a rich person, a Talmud Chacham, or a simple person. You never know who Eliyahu Navi is, but you see him, it has an effect on you. And they wanted to see him, and they wanted to talk to him about him, most probably. Initially, he pushed them off, how the story goes, but the Baal Shem Tov tells us one day, okay, I got permission, and I'll tell you where Eliyahu Navi is, and you can speak to him. So, the Baal Shem Tov, so they said, where is he? The Baal Shem Tov described a place, it's a big mansion, wherever it was. If they go to that mansion, they'll see a big entrance to the mansion, and there's a lot of carriages there with very fancy horses and carriages. And in the fifth carriage, there's a person sitting there, and that person is dressed like a nobleman, but he is Eliyahu Navi. So they all put on the coach and they go to the place where Hashem to describe to them, and sure enough, it's exactly how Hashem to describe them. There's a big palace, like going to Manhattan. You see, or going to Long Island, wherever has these big, fancy houses. A lot of Mercedes Benzes and Cadillacs over there. The museums parked in front, and they count the fifth one, And they greet him. They see a person sitting aside, sitting with a fur coat and dressed like a perfect nobleman. And knowing Hashem told them, they greet him. But instead of greeting the Talmidei of Hashem, these are holy Yidden, tzaddikim. Instead of greeting them, the Yom Novi speaks to them in a very, very rough way, and he says, like you're a Jew, or like spoke to him like a nobleman would speak to a Jew. Jid, get out of my way, he tells the driver to pull away, and he speaks away. They came back to the Hashem, to the Gas and Subraham. Couldn't understand. Why they were sure that there was a Yom Novi, but why did he act to them so roughly? Why didn't they get into conversation? So Hashem hears the sad story, and he asks them, okay, so when you met him, which language did you speak? Did you speak Russian or Yiddish? And they chaptzach that looking at the whole scene, a worldly scene, a big mansion, fancy cars, dressed, drivers, the whole scene of wealth, and they see a guy sitting inside dressed like a wealthy person, so they switched into Russian, they spoke to him. So they said, we greeted him in Russian. He said, what do you want? You spoke to him like a Russian, he answered you like a Russian. If you would have spoken to him like a Yid, he would answer you like a Yid. I read the story about that a long time ago, and once I was trying to bring out the Dina, it hit me. This is what Emunah means. Emunah means look at the world. And how much you learn in time, the Shaykh Emunah, and how much you learn in Sikhs, and how many speeches you heard, how the English and every second, it's a Devar, it says in Tehillim, that the Devar Hashem is the one that's giving life every moment. So for whatever reason, sometimes we forget that the Devar Hashem giving life to everything, and we get entangled in the world. We see the world, and we start acting to the world in a worldly manner, and then we get surprised why the world answers us back in a worldly way also. If we would talk to the world like a Yid, or with an Emunah, that they're not talking to a world that's independent of the Devar Hashem. You're talking to a world that's dependent every second that existing from the Devar Hashem. You're talking to a world that says in Rashi, first Rashi, the gracious God of the kingdom of Shemaim and others, that the whole world is created Shvil Yisrael Shal HaTorah. So it's impossible for the world to really stand against you when you want to do what the Eibishter wants. They're using educational material only from the Torah. And this is a hot issue, and not only here, it's everywhere, in every tehillah. And for whatever reason, there are people that feel that there's something somewhere else that we should bring into our holy circles. So I thought the best way to do it is to open up a page in my not even 2 pages, just 1 page, and I highlighted only the area which I want to point out. I'll leave you with a thought about that. So this is a mind that Rebbe spoke about the mile of Matan Torah, what Matan Torah does in the world, and it speaks how Torah, the 3 parts of Torah, the way the Eibishter giving the giver of the Chiddush of Matan Torah in 3 ways. The Eibishter, where they gave the Torah, what new thing happened there, what happened new thing to the Torah, what happened by the Yidden that will accomplish the Torah. And right now I want to talk about where it's highlighted. He said like this, Chiddush b'negei l'Torah, by Matan Torah, he said like this, Atzma, hu, sha'Torah she'nitna b'Matan Torah, hi be'efen shel tzivui. By Matan Torah, the Eibishter gave a Torah that's given efen shel tzivui, ugzeira. That means the Torah commands, and the Torah is greater the reality of the world. So if you think there's a world that has a reality, and there's a Torah that's somehow on top of it, he says, Faker, the Torah is Shepeil al Adam va'elam liyis kehiras Torah. Peil on the world, that the world can be as the Torah teaches. And Ki'adibur Atzmai, I'm jumping over a line, but I just was highlighting. Ki'adibur Atzmai Geizer ala Adam va'elam u'peil al liyis kein. And the dibur itself, the Torah itself is geizer on the person, and it actually helps it to be that way. I look on the bottom, on the Ha'ara, and then it gives an amazing insight about the difference between what I like to say Aristotle and his friends, because this Chochmah Goyim thing starts one of the biggest people that people quote is Aristotle, and so any of the stuff that's coming really comes from Greece, and it's amazing that we're still quoting Aristotle. There has to be won the war on Hanukkah, but aside from that, Yesh Leima, look what it says in the bottom. So he's saying in the Pnim that if you want to have an effect on the world, Chochmah is only from Torah. Heirah, the teaching how a person should live is only from Torah. And the Torah is Gezer. Okay, so look on the bottom now, number 48. Why is Torah called Lashon Hara? Af, shebekama Chochmah yeshnam l'ch'eira, gam Hara is. And the other Chochmah also give teachings. Although Hoy Maim Razal, Yesh Chochmah Goyim is timing. Yesh Torah Goyim al timing. Who? So that explains. Ka'iroi shebechol HaChochmah is the Hira that's to be found in other wisdom, other Chochmah is Heim Chelik Ma'achochmah that Ashal Pich Chol HaChochmah Tzarech Al Masnai Kach Kach. The Chochmah says that a person should act in this way. Aval Einam Hirois L'Ha'adam. The Chochmah is not talking to the person. The Chochmah can't force a person to be that way. If a person decides doesn't want to incorporate that idea, the Chochmah doesn't force him to be that way. It just tells you, such a thing can work, should work, may work. Mash'en kein, dafke Torah, she'peil al Adam, because Torah should be a cholte livchei hepech. Because with Torah, a person is able to change his tava. It teaches the person because Torah not only tells you what's good, but it actually gives you the koyach to be that good. So talking to teachers, I figured if you have two types of teachings you want to give over to a student in the world of Judea, but there's two worlds. One world is the world of Seichel, that it speaks about in other places, and the other world is the world of Midas. We're talking about the world of Torah. When you're talking Torah, if you can teach, when you teach Torah, you're not only teaching Chochmah, which is the Chochmah for everybody. The greatest Chochmah is Kedusha Torah. It also has the power to change the person because Torah is Gezer. Torah creates the reality. Now, why would a person want to choose something which is not effective for something that is effective? When you're taking something from Aristotle, the Chaverov, there he's telling us in his world, his Greek mind, he came up with a concept. First, maybe yeah, maybe no. Maybe for this time, maybe not. Maybe for this not, but maybe not. And maybe it goes along with your DNA, maybe not. There's a lot of maybes, maybe not. It doesn't just because it's something which I think Chochmah is uzgehalten. It holds up in the world of Seichel. A lot of things are not held up in Seichel. It doesn't mean that it talks to the person. The person doesn't have to incorporate. However, since Torah, by the Matan makes that Torah is great, the Torah makes the world work, and the whole world works on Torah. So when you learn Torah, you're not only getting Chochmah, you're getting the ability to change your teva. So when Aristotle says that you can't change your teva, because in his world you can't change the teva. A goy is stuck in the teva. A yid knows that he's given the kayach and Torah to change his teva. So if he was born mean, and he was born with anger, if he was born depressed, if he was born any of the things that you want to say that's his makeup, that's the teva that Abishah gave him now Torah to change that. And that's the purpose why he came to Rubashkin, which you'll find out. The whole purpose Abishah created us with these teva, not because that's who we are, that's how we have to work with. Again, Abishah is not Torah in the same way, like the Kiva said, the same way the Abishah doesn't give us bread, the Abishah gives us wheat, and we have to take the wheat, we have to work it out to make bread. The Abishah gave us a Nefesh HaBamis with all its bread and this, and then it gives us Torah to change it. So Aristotle is talking about one type of being, a goy, and maybe in the Goyish world they can't change, not maybe, they can't change themselves, but a Yid has a Neshama, he has Nefesh Elikis, he has Torah, And the Torah is not only chokhmah. He has a ra, he can actually change it. So if you want to be pressed on by your children, your own children, or your class, and you want to give them the koyach. And by the way, if you can take this also, there's a word called tools, and there's a word called koyach. And growing up, I never heard the word tools being used by those who speak English. I always heard the word koyach. And when the word tools started popping up, I wondered, because I actually, when I was going through my assignment in prison, I was looking for koyach. I'd be able to overcome all the insaneness, and I found it in Torah. So, mitzvah, I heard the word tools come in the publications. I'm wondering, why are they using the word tools instead of koyach? They'll say, Torah gives you the tools to deal with life. But that's so shallow. That's not even true, because Torah actually gives you the koyach to go through life. A tool is external to yourself. If you are a craftsman that needs a saw, needs a wrench, needs a tool, a diamond split, needs a tool to split a diamond. The tool is external to him. It's not part of him. Either he has it, doesn't have it. He doesn't want to use it. Torah does so much more. Torah reveals to you the koyach you have within. When you talk to a kid and tell him, "I'll give you the tool," and maybe that's exactly what he's saying here. Chokhmah, Aristotle gives tools. If you want a tool chest, you want to use a tool, you always use a tool. You are a craftsman, not a craftsman. Torah gives you koyach. Torah doesn't give you. Torah tells you that you have the koyach. The koyach Torah gives you is not only something external. Torah teaches you because you're the neshama. So this is the koyach you have to overcome your Nisayon. So why in the world would you want to use a tool when you use a koyach? Torah is so much deeper. It's so interesting how. And this is the next part. It's so interesting how we grab words and one meaning. The first part, I read an article from a friend of mine, Dafke, and he wrote an article in one of these journals, and he used the word tools. And I remember exactly I was sitting there, and I wondered, why do you use the word tools for? He didn't mean it in a bad way. He's speaking, whatever it is. But it's so much more than tools. Torah doesn't give you tools how to deal with life. Torah gives the koyach to deal with life. So if you have an option, you have a limited time. If, when you finish giving all the Torah, all the koyach, then start eating tools. But why would you ever want to use something which is so much more forceful, so much more powerful, for something that's useless? Because it's external, and it not necessarily talks to that kid. Okay, so I want to show. I live with this. The first place that took me into jail was in Dubuque. And because my case was a high, I never saw it that way, but it was, they made it into this high visible, what they call it, case. So they put me in the suite lounge over there in the jail, that place over there. Who was there? A judge. So there was a judge there. He had a Sarah Mashkin, he had a Sarah Eifim. Later, I'm not joking, the first judge I met over there, I never asked him what he did, it's not important, because the story was with him. And a few days later, they brought in a guy, he was a Sarah Mashkin, because they brought him in, he was drunker than drunk. I never saw a guy sleep so long in my life. I was in Shiva, and I still got from sleep. You shlof him. One day, Thursday, he slept like 2 days straight. He was drunker than drunk, finally got up. He happened to be a very sweet guy. He was what do they call these judges? Magistrate judge. And he liked to drink, and then he beat up his wife. So they brought him to jail until he sobered up. So this guy, he had a Sarah Mashkin, and also Sarah Eifim. So this judge over there, seen the Jew come into the room. So, he liked to read the Bible, and obviously being in jail for him was for anybody, it's very, very traumatic and very, very painful. And he was trying to deal with it in his way. And now he had another religious guy that he can talk to. So first of all, I told him I can't sleep on top of this shelf because if I have to wash my hands in the morning and get a shower. So if you don't mind, you go on top. So he did that. And so then we got talking. I see, and he was amazed the fact he had like one book, the tomb over there, and he read it a lot. And then he sees one safe, another safe, another safe. What do you get it? This is Bible. Bible. I have only one book. So I had 2 months of bringing to this guy. very, very smart person. And what I want to tell you is like he has a Jew over here, and if you ask him questions, he always wanted to ask. So he starts telling me, I want to ask you questions in theology. So I said, oh, das nicht. So why not? You don't know? I think I do know, but what's going to happen is you're reading a book that's not really true, and you're going to ask me questions about you know who, and I'm going to have to tell you the truth, what I think about you know who. You're not going to like it, so you're going to beat me up. So let's stay friends, and that's it. Just don't like that. So he said, no, I won't talk to you about that. I just want to have questions I want to ask you. So why do I tell this part of the story like this? He was sitting there with a tumor. He written in English, some version of what they call a Bible. And I tried to impress him on him that what he's reading is a fake, it's a translation of a translation of a translation. And the reason we have written law, 5 books and 24 books, and then we have also the oral law. What's the word? Never heard about that. So why do you have to have oral law? So I told him what the Ramban says. I said, well, you guys stole our statement. What you're holding is theft because you stole our book, and now you come and you added some things later, and now you're adding things. You're asking me questions as if it's your book. It's our book. You stole it. You understand? That you can't even say that you even stole the names of our people. His name wasn't Abraham, it was Abraham. You have promising Abraham, and his name wasn't Isaac, it was Yitzchak. And his name wasn't Jacob, it was Yaakov. And it wasn't Esau, it was Esau. You guys turned even names you turned around as if they had different names. So I got to him. After 2.5 months of studying, he's a bright guy. I brought him a bootleg translation of the Chumash, and I saw him at night. He was reading his book on one side, and the Chumash on the other side, and he was tracking both sides. He was there for 2 months. After 2 months, why did he do that? In 2 months of conversation, he found something he had to have explanation. So he wanted me to look inside his book. That's the reason I'm telling this part of the story. I was very careful, and everybody should be very careful, not to contact Tumah. I say a Goyish book is Tumah. It's a bit deserved. It's English. It's a bit deserved. In English. And when you're reading it, you don't know how it contaminates your brain. And I needed to have a very clear Yiddish cop, speak Yiddish, and I didn't want to be contaminated. So I told him, I will never look into your book. If you want to tell me where the Pasuk says, I have my Fitas, I'll find it and I'll answer your question. So in the beginning, I didn't have anything else for him. He asked me a question. I found the Sefer, I found the Rashi if I needed. Most of his questions were all partial mistranslations. I told him, you see, another time he mistranslated and he had a question. Then he had, but the point is, the idea of going to foreign sources is ishpashut. It's not parted. It's not parted. Other sources could be metam without the Rebbe says in Tanya that chokhmah kitzayin is metam v'nefesh. Which part of that don't we understand? So, ma the chokhmah kitzayin is we're talking about. But I'm trying to bring out every little step. I was careful not to say not a big deal. Guy wants to talk to me, and it was important for me to have some social interaction with the guy because A, I want to speak to somebody. B, you don't want to make an enemy out of the guy. So I have found a way to do it. You ask me where it is, I'll look into my Chumash, and then we'll get together. And we did that, and he became a very good friend. He told my sister after I left, it was worth for him to go to jail to meet me. Ask Kyla. Her mother, really. I was not allowed to contact her. She contacted him. Because obviously, over the 2 months, I must have told him things. I can't tell you what it was. I could tell you with this one story. I finally hapsed that I'm going to bring him a real Chumash to see, and he was tracking. And then I hear him one day on Shabbos. He had a son called Jacob, not Jacob. And he gets on the phone. Like you hear everything is cemented. You hear everything drop. And he says, Jacob, if you want to know the real story between Jacob and Esau, you have to buy the good Chumash. He hung up his voice and what's that all about? So she says, you don't know. I read last night the part with Yaakov and Esau in Parshas, where's that in Vayetz, not in Tilis. And you don't know how bad they make Yaakov look there. They make him look like a real gangster. So I was tempted to say, well, what did they say there? And I said, I don't know. I didn't know. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't want to touch anything tumor, because you touch tumor, then you wonder why you're not sensitive enough to have a word that you want to enjoy. You want to daven. When I stick a heritage in Kedusha, you're metami yourself. So keep yourself. I always this never vasa. That should be the place that had a never vasa. The sink was in the bathroom. So the guy asked me the first day I came, they said, what do you need to be Jewish? So they gave me seichel, I need 1,000 film, I need kosher food, I need to be able to pray, and I need to have Hamechanchos, and I need water outside the bathroom. I can't explain the guy's face. He said, what? You have water in the bathroom? I said, that's the point. But in the bathroom, it's impure. I need water outside the bathroom. So as much as he understood 1,000 film, he understood that this yo-yo needs water outside every morning. Every morning they came and they took me to their locker room, to the Goyish locker room, and there they there's a sink over in the Goyish, the cops. You have no idea the different Arab between the officer and the prisoner. One is a nobleman and one is the rat, the mouse. Not a person. And I walk into their locker room and I'm washing. Then they gave me, I think, the whole water for later, because I have to have water for later. And so the word is tumor and tar is real. And maybe she teaches us in Torah how to be gashmis, to stay with tumor, stay away from tumor, stay tar, and beruchnis into a cup. We think we can listen and watch and incorporate foreign ideas, and then suddenly we don't understand why Torah says so. And the other guy who didn't incorporate all ideas says, what don't you understand? Which part of don't you understand? Because then it's clear. It's clear as day. You have to go through it. Because he speaks Yiddish and this guy learned Goyish. In some way, he forgot a word somewhere, and it doesn't click anymore. So this is the first thing I wanted to share with you. I think I'm running out of time here, but Torah is not only Hira, it's Mitzvah. It affects the world. It changes the world. We can change ourselves. We're able to make ourselves into a different person through Torah. What we can't do with any other. That's why Torah is called Hira, and not Chochmah. That which brings me to the next part of the conversation, which what's the specific challenge of Emunah in our time. I made a little list for myself coming here from Jackson, New Jersey. You can make a list for yourself. You're educated. I put on one side Aristotle and the Chavero, and the other side I put Torah. Torah puts a emphasis on bittul. Why? Because Torah wants you to reach higher than Teva. Torah Emunah. Torah wants you to become higher than yourself. If you become higher than yourself, then you have to push away the physical part, because you can't have the infinite can't dwell in the finite unless they fuses it. But there has to be that Torah bittul. Aristotle wants after Yeshus. Torah wants us to give our children the idea of Kabbalah's oil. Nasa v'nishma. I mean, you know the song. Nasa v'nishma, right? Nasa v'nishma. Nasa v'nishma Kabbalah's oil. You know, we got so good at explaining things in our thoughts. We got so good in explaining every concept in worldly terms. We forgot the idea that it's not about Teva. It's higher than Teva. It's not about bringing Teva into the world. It's about bringing the area in self, which might be Teva and Teva. The Bible is about start learning. It's not about how are you making Teva a Diralei Yisborach? By bringing down the Mailim of the Teva. How do you bring down the Mailim of the Teva? Right? By Kabbalah's oil. By B'siras Nefesh, which we'll talk about now a little bit. Torah gives you purpose in life. You're born for a purpose. You're born. This is the whole discussion for itself. How a person goes through the soil, because he has a purpose. He sees a purpose in everything he's going through. The Eibush is not trying to beat him up. And the soil is never given to a Yid because the Eibush wants to break the Yid. The Eibush gives the Yid in the soil because he wants the Yid to break in the soil. Elamite's hard. Anything worthwhile is hard. And those people have an easier life. And how we're saying it says that Rabbi Rayatz is because they're worthless. No, he says they're worthless. Because they don't have Torahs. If you see somebody successful, has no problems, it's a chamonas on him. That's what we say every morning in davening. Don't bring it to the sins, because on the sign is something you never know if you're going to win. But don't make us a bezoin. If a person has no nisyanis at all, it's a bezoin. That means you're so useless that they should hit. Take something and get out of my face. Well, nobody wants to be overwhelmed with nisyanis either. So we ask out the nisayon of the bezoin. They should create us for Batorah. They should create us to get something done. So if it's hard, it could be hard. So yes, if it's a tzara, yes, they should wait the tzara. But if it's hard work, so you're accomplishing. A Torah says you get things through Aveda. Anything worthwhile you have to earn. Aristotle and the Americans, believe you, the whole work is to go on vacation. And if you go on vacation without working, it's the whole it's mamish contrary. And you see that the guy's halach yelech. So the point of this is, obviously this can be discussed at length, but the point of it is you can see if you're teaching, when we're teaching children that we have a neshama, we have a Emunah from, and therefore we have a higher purpose, and they loves us, and we give him a self-esteem that he's deserving, that's an emes self-esteem, then you're building a yid. And if you give him a bunch of ideas, you'll see most of these ideas are based in opposite of Torah. It may look for a second benign, but it's mambesh on the other side. As the Rebbe says, if you go off one hair, but yes, I'm on the road, but if your little hair line is pointed off the way, you keep on going, you go further and further and further away. That's where we are today. Why? I always wonder, my parents were war survivors. Not Germany, Russia. And their children grew up normal. Normal. Whatever normal means, okay? We grew up more or less, we're proud to be Jews, we're raised as mishpacha, we pride ourselves on the right things. Why aren't we on the yeshiva? And we still have Havrengas, we lived in Rebbe State for 40 years. Why is our children running through the bigger problems than we did? Oh, today's day and age, as if we had no problems. We lived through an era called generation gap. If you guys remember that, it's called the hippies, and the whole world turned on its head. In those days, that was the argument. That is different. I'm not belittling. That's what it is. I'm not belittling the challenge we have. But you have to ask yourself, what am I not telling my child? What am I not teaching my children that they're struggling with what they're struggling with? It doesn't make sense. Why don't they have a good self-esteem? Why are they depressed? How can you be depressed if you know Hashem creates you? Why can you be depressed that you know you're doing what Eibush wants? How can you be depressed if what you're doing is Eibush is happy? Which part of depression belongs there? Why do you suddenly feel anxious? What are you anxious about? The Eibush is with you, the Eibush will help you. Look at all the things that are happening. Where's your Emunah? Where's your B'tachon? So obviously we're saying something wrong. So what do? We go deeper into the woods, deeper into the Chayzeros, deeper into those people that are giving the problems, and then trying to incorporate their tools to deal with things that we need keches for. We need keches. We need keches. We have to make our neshama alive by putting neshama on fire. And the way you put neshama on fire is simply by learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. And I'm not talking to Noshim also mechuyev learning Torah. Any mitzvah that an ish is mechuyev, if he has a chiyuv of learning Torah, Shabbos, Kashrus, all the laws that pertain to women, and also when it comes to Cheves Alvavos, when it comes to Ava and Yira, when it comes to Midas Shabalev, all you have to learn. You have to learn Chiddush. So, which brings me, I'll talk until everybody gets out of here, and I'll realize something shut the light. The second paper here. So, what's the specific challenge in our time? We all know, and we're all teachers there, and we're all teaching about mitzvah saseh and mitzvah saseh, what we're supposed to be doing to bring kedusha into the world. Every mitzvah saseh is a connection with Eibush to bring kedusha into ourselves into the world. Every mitzvah saseh with doicha derah, and that's also moving of the world. And then there's a thing called the Nesoi. This is in fact one of the longest Maimorim that the Rebbe said it's the Satan L'Reachon Neis, the Eibishter gives you a Patasinis. And this particular, it's actually two sides of the paper, but I highlighted. I want to bring out that there's a Veda. What's going on? We are going through a big Nisayon, obviously. Big Nisayon. How do you go through a Nisayon? How do you, what is it, what is a Nisayon? And how do you go through a Nisayon? And here's, the Rebbe explains it very well, and maybe everything is said will tie together with this understanding. He said like this. Mash'enke and Avedis, he talks about like this. The Avedis of Mitzvah Asay is to do the mitzvah. The Avedis mitzvah says to push away the Ra. Dealing with the Nashabamis. Mash'enke and Avedis and the Siyanis shehi ve'inyan she'ene dova mitzat atzmi. And the Siyan means that it really doesn't have an existence on its own. There's nothing really there. There's a guy that's trying to take my metal film. There's a guy that's taking my yarmulke and sitters. There's a vending machine that's trying to sell me tray for ice cream, right? So it's not really there. Like Sha'aymed, Shahumad, it was something that put the devil lahalim ulumneya. They should put something that's trying to stop you from doing a mitzvah. And the soyin is about working with yourself. And you took Emunah b'tochen. Then the soyin of other times, our person saying this was from the outside. The goy try to stop us from doing Torah mitzvahs. The saying is that we are dealing with today from the inside. But nevertheless, it's in the soyin other than and when you're trying to compare the Aveda of wanting to do a mitzvah and Aveda of staying away from an Aveda, which is a whole different set of what you're supposed to, what the Aveda is there, is an Aveda called Nisyonis. And the Aveda of Nisyonis is an Aveda that has to do with working on yourself. And the Soyin in English is meant to break you. Or I'll back up. And the Soyin tries to break you, and you're meant to stand up with the strength against it, and by standing with strength against it, then the Soyin disappears. So the Soyin is not about elevating the world, the Soyin is about elevating yourself. The Soyin is about bringing out chaos in yourself that you didn't know you had before. If you asked me before I had went through the 18 years in prison, if I was put in prison, if I can act like that, I'll tell you no. Not no. Capital N no. I never know. How would you know? And the soyin, that's the type of it. And the soyin is, maybe the version of the soyin, the soyin itself is not a Metzias. The world is a Metzias. The world, actually created a world, created food, nobody's eating. But if you made a brach and you ate, you'd be elevating the food. You take the Tzutz in there, you'd be elevating it. If something today was on the there and you push it away, you're also elevating the world. You're separating the from it. And the soyin is nothing but elevating anything in the world. And the soyin is all about elevating yourself. I think it's a clarity there that we're trying to bring out. That's where Emunah and the Tachim teaching our kids is important, because today our Aveda is in the Seinis, and in the Seinis that comes from within. What our children are crying is they don't know who they are, they don't know why they are, they don't know where they are, they don't know what's going on. It's all about self, of what's going on in self. So here, the Rebbe clearly explains how do you deal with the soil. By the soil, this askus is not with the world, it's himself. To bring out the keich atzmi that we talked before about keich. To be me'ered the keich atzmi you have in yourself to overcome the soil, to let this poem club. It doesn't even go into any tiniest and minus, but it doesn't argue the Yitzhara. By the other mitzvahs, he argues it out. Okay, that's it, that's the same. But they take that, to just take it from the Neshama, Misbachlu Hu Be'emes, that the Neshama goes in the Ganzen, Misgala, Mitzvah Adover Shu'in, and Shem Mitzvahs, because by the Yid standing strong to do the Ratzon Hashem, so he's Mevatel, that which standing against him, the Chomas Yusi, because the whole of the Tzis of the Neshama was only actually Gala, Eitzel Adam, Etzem Nafshay, the Eibishter wants us to reveal on the Neshama. And the way they should build on the Neshama, we talk about the part of the Neshama that's higher than Seichel. They have Nefesh, Hiluch, and Neshama, Chai Yechida. And the Nisayon reveals the Yechidah Sheb Nefesh, where the Yid wants to stay connected to the Eibishter, and that's it. You can't do anything differently. So when something stands up against him, that's a Megala, that's a Neshama. The first night they threw me into the South to go to prison. I mean, this is Mamish, looking back. you can see it looked like a horrible moment, and it was the biggest favor Hashem did for me. The guy tells me to take my American citizens. I gotta take it off. I'm trying to explain to him that the Jew needs American citizens. He can't walk without it. And I told him, you can check it out in the book. Sefer wasn't working. And I told him, you can take it away, you can take it away forcefully. I'm not allowed to walk 4 steps to the American citizens. You take it away, I won't be able to walk. I thought I'll say that. I'll say, okay, you have it. If you're serious about your religion. Instead, he looks me in the face and he tells me, listen, buddy. I'm getting very friendly. It's like, buddy, we're not buddy. A lot of things are going to change through the night, he tells me. And then it hit me that this was, he was trying to give me, you should notice. You think you're coming in like that, we're going to change you. And what are you there? You're changing the prison clothes and the divorce. You see the gates, you see the chains, and they brought you a chains in the hands and feet, and they won't have control over you. So what are you supposed to say? I give up. When he said, you're going to change me, suddenly the Etzan HaNefesh woke up. That's what happened. He woke it up, not his credit. Because once I heard the word, a lot of things changed tonight. You want to change me? Even with just a body. It's how it always comes to a person like he's a body. It's you're going through a hard time. Let me give you a good idea how to get out of the hard time. And that idea is to push him into hard time. And when his idea doesn't work, he says, you don't understand. Because you didn't do it this way. If you would have done it that way, then it would have helped. So you do it that way. So you don't understand. If you do it that and that way, a different way, and that's it takes you, pushes you all over the cliff. That's how it works. Mr. Body. But the ikka is, that's what he says over here. The whole meaning of an aside, so I made it myself after then, they want to change me, one thing's for sure, I'm not changing. Not because I'm a strong guy, because I'm going to hold on to the Eibush, the mitzvahs, and I'm not changing. I can't have it. You'll see in every Nisayon you go through, the Nisayon and stuff like Asar B'Tevis, the Rebbe explains that the Nebuchadnezzar is surrounded. In the Sholom, that was the Tzara. But in the Tzara lies the medicine to get out of those. Because they just use a way of surrounding, which is a big Tzara. But on the other hand, it unites everybody. If they do a Chapsach, we're united. We're all living in Yerushalayim. We can't get out. We can't fight now. So let's get together. Let's return to the Eibishter with Achdus. If they would have done that, then the Matzah would have gone away. So the Nisayon itself, sometimes that's what life. He said, listen, buddy, that saved my whole life. And so then in back, I brought out that Rabbi Avinu went, and he went into the Nor disappeared, and then he finishes off on the bottom. When a person stands with the nefesh, hard in cheshbenis, through this bitla the soy v'chinayim. So, and they finished off. That's the thing. That says so this is what we're going through is the sameness. And in the soyan that we go through, the way to deal with the soyan is forget to dig deeper into to reveal the neshama, which the soyan is intended to do. Teach the children about the neshama. Teach them who they really are. Teach them that there is only one way. That's kedusha, and there is a tumah they have to stay away from. And teach them that there is the only chokhmah, real chokhmah is kichmas. You want to enjoy life. Say the mitzvahs. That's normal. You want to try something else for a second. You may David gets bechira, but ultimately it will burn yourself out. And that's the language they understand, and that's the language that I can raise up. They should know the Yidden, as the Rebbe says, and they should feel good about themselves. We'll be successful. We're doing it. So, for example, when I learned the idea that Mesiras Nefesh, it doesn't mean yourself. It means to go beyond your comfort zone. Do a mitzvah, but Mesiras Nefesh is Megale Yechida. We're talking about the Segoy Megale Yechida, Megale Nefesh. So if you're doing Torah mitzvahs, of course you understand how beautiful it is, yeah, you like it. So now you're engaging yourself with the Eibishter on a seichel mitzvah way. If you want to connect the Eibishter on higher than that, with your neshama, you have to find a mitzvah and do it beyond, or you don't like to do, and you do it anyway. You go beyond it. So then, when you serve the Eibishter the Eibishter will help you the same way with the Yeshua that also comes the Chom. you only can get that to answer the question directly, but it's to learn it from the source. And today,
let's say you're helping children with anxiety, right? So how do we know what's the type of way of helping them or what?
because you don't find the word anxiety in the Tanya, right? Huh? That's a problem?
Let's say you have children who have anxiety.
How do also
Where should we
So anxiety, for example, anxiety. Why is anxiety even a negative thing to deal with? I don't know, why not? Because anxiety, sit down and understand what you're being told. Anxiety means you can be anxious for good things. Whoever prepared this table is very anxious. How many people show up tonight? I promise you. And he was anxious that when the people come in, they should make sure that everything looks exactly right. Every cup should be aligned with the next cup, and the cream should be on top. Right? If he was anxious, you have to make the bar mitzvah. You're anxious. Anxiety is a good thing too. Right? You're waiting for your kid to come off the bus and you can't, or from school. You're also anxious when you come off. It's not after. Anxiety really is a moment where you want the future to come into the present. That's what anxiety really do. Okay, but again, what's the point? The point is, try to have a better idea. How do you say anxiety in Yiddish? Go back to say anxiety in Yiddish. Say anxiety in Hebrew. Why not? Everybody here. How do you say anxiety in Yiddish? That's the fact of the word. Huh? You know why there's no such a word like that? Because no such thing. Oh, Rubashkin said that. Here's the whole story. Anxiety is a moment. Why do you worry? What's your action? The word means nothing. Because it can mean for good things. If you use exactly nothing, it can mean when you don't do a mitzvah. If a kid doesn't do a mitzvah, there's something wrong with Avodas Hashem. The person is anxious also. Anxiety is this empty feeling. It doesn't feel right. That's not the word in Hebrew either. That's the word anxiety. They created a word. I'm not saying people can't tell you they're anxious. I'm trying, how do you deal with it? You deal with it by talking with them. Tell me what you're anxious about. Talk to them, I'm anxious. Tell me specifically. You're anxious because you're making a mitzvah? Are you anxious because something bad's going to happen? Then, so you're worried about that. So let me talk to you about Emunah, the Tochen, how you daven. Let me talk to you about that. A child tells you he's depressed. Get down to the specifics. Then deal with it like I did. Oh, hey, one second. They don't even know what the word is either. They're just trying to say them. Either you tell me the child knows what he's talking about, and knows what he's talking about, then why are you telling me he's saying something? That's the parent.
sometimes though you have chatmas ketanias that are in line with Torah.
For example.
I don't know, just one that, like, let's say came to my head is like, let's say a nurtured heart approach. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's all about like looking for the positivity in the kid, and it's very in line with actually citizen and whatever. It's just like a little bit more brought down, like they tell you what to do when the kid's having attention, whatever. So is there? It is a chatmas ketanias. It does come from a guy. You could gain from it, and from like my understanding, because it actually works in line. So, is there a problem to learn it?
Do you make a bracha before you read a sefer?
No.
So let's why not?
No, but
you in that conversation when people talk, they're always talking a very part of a word because they're not going to say this. It's in line with it. So I have a better idea. What I have to learn something that's in line with it? Why should I say this?
because sometimes it's already written out for you what to do in the third grade classroom.
Okay. So again, we spoke
or when
before.
your kid is having a meltdown. It doesn't say in a mimer what to do when the kid has a meltdown.
Oh, you don't know which mimer to do.
Okay, I don't have time to figure that out. Somebody else has to figure it out.
So say it how it is. So this is where we're being led off the path. We're talking, if Torah deals with every problem, and Torah gives us the koyach that's higher than any koyach. Why would I want to buy somebody's refrigerator stuff if I can buy something that can give you koyach to do it? You want to be effective. maybe you're giving a band-aid, and maybe what you're doing is actually bringing in another condition. You keep on telling the kid how nice they are, and how smart they are, and how great they are, and how wonderful, and since him, there was never such a boy born since Adam Rishon, for example. Yeah? And it has a price for it. You'll get the response, whatever you want for the moment. But that kid is going to look to an egoistic person, and then one day he'll come to a guy and says, you know you're an idiot. And then either get very angry at the person for lying to him, when he realizes he's an idiot, or he'll suddenly lose himself. So, not every, you ever go I'm speaking a little bit in the queue just to bring it on the Buddha, but when you train animals, you train them certain behavior, they do it. That's not do what they're doing. When you go to these amusement parks, they tell you, put up here, they condition. You can condition a person to give you back a thing in a chetzeni different way. Torah is on a whole different level. You're giving, when you're teaching, when the kid's having a meltdown, and he's having a midrash, you tell him it's a midrash, it's a horror in action. How many times do you guys use the word horror in your chinuch? Okay. You do? Okay. Why did you find the moment between Yitzhak and horror, which is what's really going on? Why is every single thought from a child validated as if it's a thought that's coming for your own thought? It's a thought that he has, but if you have to explain to him, you have a Yitzhak and you also have a horror. And that thought that you have is coming from a place that's trying to go against David. You won't go against David. Doesn't go against David. To answer, I think the simple answer to your question is, and that's why I was pushing it, why do we, after 200 years of Lubavitch, and after how many years since Hashem, we now have to go to people that are in line with us to be able to speak to people? The Rebbe always told us, we're shluchim, we have to go out to the world and bring Leirach Chassidus to help the problems. So today, a guy comes to the Chabad, and comes to you, and asks somebody for help. Oh, go see Aristotle. You're there to help him with problems. He's having a hard day, and the reason he's having a hard day, doesn't tell you, he's having a hard day because David still wants to wake him up from his dream of Gashmias, and you're there to tell him to put on tefillin, and tefillin will make you feel better. We're past that. Oh, you're having a depressing moment. Okay, let me send you Aristotle, and he'll explain how to deal with depression. Something was really wrong here.
Aristotle's giving you an hour. They're giving you an hour, and they're giving you.
Okay,
yes.
So
there's. I'm saying I think the problem is that we don't have the opposite going on in our life. Like we don't have that one person that's ready to sit down for an hour and really a week or whatever it is, and give you real direction from Torah.
You the people. You have to start doing it. I was on the Rabbi Philip was a tzaddik, a yid, a guy, and a tzaddik. He mamish established for myself and my family, and we were on a show one time, and that show has a lot of Aristotle there all the time. And I was there once, and I went on a second time with him. And because I'm not a wise guy, and I'm on somebody else's show, I'm not going to knock what he does a lot of times. We spoke, we were speaking about Avos Yisrael, was speaking about Avos Yisrael, was speaking about the Mile of Torah, and the Emunah, B'tachon. Then we had questions and answers. So one guy came, one person called up, actually there was a lot of Shabbat called up and told him about his hardships, and actually no proposal. Another guy called up, and I said to him, no. You have a Jewish problem, and you're trying to answer it with a Goyish answer. Think about it that way. And he picked up the guy running the show. He knew exactly what I was talking about. So he brought Aristotle into the conversation. That night, I get an email. And this lady tells me exactly what she just said. She says, you said that if you have a question that's a Jewish question with no Jewish answer, I have that problem. She's from California. She went through the system. She went to a yeshiva school, whatever, one of the schools over there. But she feels totally disconnected. She's married. She has kids. She wants the intermarriage. So it's a joke. But she married, but she has a little bit of a disconnect, and she looks If you have money, you go to Aristotle. If you don't have money, you go to. So I said to her, you know what? And you don't open me a safe and start looking from a safe. I'm sorry for bringing the safe thing. If I bring you from inside, you can relate a little better than just saying something. So don't open me a Shabbat and talk. When you have a clear head, you can learn. When you are deep in trouble, you have challenges in your life, you just tell me, like they talk. Tell me what the issue is. Tell me a takeaway. Tell me what you do. I never did it for my life. I was challenged. I said, good, we're doing that. I started a series called Heal the Heart. Because the whole Baba Maisa about being mind, what it was? Not mindful, the mindful. What do they have? No. They could have called all the. Now there's a difference. The mind problem. They call it mind. Mental illness. It's not a mental illness. It's unbelievable. First, I'm not mental. So don't call. It's not mental. You learn Tanya. Don't be tired. How do you even call it mental? Meyach shalit alabayv. Meyach is not mental. It's not illness. Your healing comes from Meyach. It's the heart where your troubles are coming from. Identify where they're coming from. I'm just showing you how little words. Mental illness. Is that a mental illness? The very place where you're supposed to be getting your keich from your Meyach, it became ill. It's the late. I call it heal the heart one of the tongue, and I give now multiple classes in the area that I live in now, in Jackson, Lakewood, and it's Russian. It's a group from 10 to 15 people. There are 67 less than 67 people, and we discuss these in anxiety and depression and self-esteem and regret, all these languages and that language, and we discuss it. But we take all our answers from Torah. I'm not the smartest guy out there.
Is it accessible to non-liquid people?
Zoom.
I have a Zoom. I don't know Zoom. Zoom. But the fact is, they're much smarter people than me. Why we're selling out? Why we're selling out? I have a product. I have Torah. I'm a Yid. The Abish gave me Torah. My job is to disseminate Torah. My job is not to disseminate things that I like Torah. I'm not picking on it. Don't. I'm very happy you asked the question. I'm just trying to. I talk a little bit of passion because I'm a passionate guy, but that comes from the. I'm trying to say it doesn't make sense in any level you look at it. So you say because at least they're giving you words. So why don't we get somebody to speak English and start taking none of that we learn and start analyzing?
It's just not available.
It's not available.
Okay, so let's make it available.
Also, it's really
But the artistic approach is
Knock it home, not slow it down. You're getting deeper. If you could, Aristotle starts out that a person, Aristotle starts out in the world was always created. Aristotle starts out that a person comes from a monkey. He has fundamental differences. That Aristotle doesn't believe in the neshama. Aristotle doesn't believe that you can change him. You're talking to the people. So they have you when they give you one line that's something there. But then it's like a book. You put it on a computer. You're reading a book, and it takes you on the road.
But I see people that no Torah, they quote a lot of times.
Okay, fine.
Things that are in psychology and they correlate with the concept.
So they're doing a big service to people. The service they're doing is they're getting people instead of learning a mind, they're learning psychology.
No, but they're trying to align.
They may have not to do it, but a child can't do that. You're taking a child that was entrusted to you to teach Torah. You take a child that was entrusted to you to show him that Torah is emes and Torah is chokhmah, and by there it's lies. And if they have anything, it's whatever it is. So you were entrusted to teach the Torah to be a Yid, and now you're giving him. You yourself are telling him you can find something somewhere else.
Did the rabbi
as a teaching level, as a shliach level, what are you doing? So, what's the taina? The taina is, we don't know how to do it. So, the Rebbe in the beginning of Tanya says, if you don't know all the answers are in Tanya, if you don't know how to do it, ask somebody who does know.
Everybody said it, but no.
I didn't say that. I said, I don't know. No. I don't know. I'm not first. I'm not the only one. I'm not the one of the people that are hosting this party agree with me. A lot of people. We have to. We are now talking Indian. Hakeres emes. And that's what you have to do with it. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm fighting with anybody. I was telling you the truth the way it is. You want to take it, take it. You don't want to take it, you know, it's not a free country really, but yeah.
I'm saying, but there are
I have a younger man, because I can keep you at the ball of stories. And then a younger man comes to me. I'm learning with him a little bit, we got close. And he tells me one day, I had one question on simple.
what gets defined as sick? That's the problem. Because every other, I'm saying,
I was saying that our job as teachers is to give them the means to handle life, to give them the means purely on Torah that they can, when they have a struggle, they will turn to Torah. But unfortunately, there are times, sometimes, when someone's sick, they can be physically sick, they can be mentally sick. If someone's physically sick, then they would go to a doctor. When someone's mentally sick, and like I said, that like the letters from heaven very clearly say, they have to find someone who can help them who is a Yer Shemayim. You can't just go to any therapist. You can't just, open up your phone book and he's a great therapist. Yes, whoever you're going to for whatever help you need needs to be Yer Shemayim.
Aristotle by definition is not Yer Shemayim. Aristotle by definition is not Yer Shemayim. Aristotle's teaching it has nothing to do with Shemayim. Anything that comes from there, ask anybody that went to the teaching, if they were taught up the courses, and they'll tell you, yeah. It sounds so smooth and simple, but the fact of the matter is, what they want to say is, everybody's sick.
No, that's exactly
Yes,
what I'm
because
not saying.
because one person was sent as sick, they were mentally sick. Most children are not sick. It's not a condition where the kid doesn't want to.
I teach first grade. My classroom, we don't have to worry about that, Baruch Hashem, generally. Baruch Hashem, even if kids are having issues, their issues are 100%.
I have a very sophisticated phone. But I want to share with you a text I got in Florida. A younger man came to lunch with me a few times a week. And this guy is somebody from learn. Okay? And for reasons we got together, they were the first together. And then I told him about the class last night, we talked about Simcha. So our conversation worked about Simcha. And they got very serious. And he tells me, he has a few children, and one of his children is a little overweight. And short of the thought, he doesn't like getting up in the morning. Imagine? And he has this tiner, his sisters don't have to go to school on Sunday, and he has to go to school. And imagine the kid is not going to school. Remember sick, mental illness. As kids, we always loved going to school. And we always sat in straight, we never took the dick, and we were always on time. Right? But suddenly something happened. So I asked, so he went to the Rav, and he's telling the story. And the Rav tells him, oh, you have behavioral issues? He has to go to Aristotle. I was shocked coming out of his mouth. This father, I was almost surprised. I said to him, I said, what's Aristotle going to tell us? Go there. What are they telling them? Nobody even talks ever. Go there, you go to the hospital. What are they doing there? So I asked him, what? So he said, I don't know. I asked my Rav, what are the topics going to tell me? He said, I also don't know. But it's Yer Shemayim. Behavioral issues, off they go. Because they don't know. So I said, why don't you try this? Why don't you try to speak to your kid and tell them about that he's a Jewish boy and he has an Instilling, he has an Instilling, he has a Sahara. He's going to get up in the morning, there's the first sim in the Shulchan Aruch, about the time going to get up, it's Gabriel Yitzrei, and how Hashem loves him and Hashem wants him to learn Torah. What if I told him something along those lines? Okay. I get a text from this guy. What's his name? I'll read you a text he sent me, and he sent me a picture of the note his kid left him. getting all of it. Okay. That's Sholom. I needed to share you the nachas. It's nachas with you. My son left me the sweetest note at his bed. See attached. This is a guy that didn't wake up in the morning, had time to have to go to school. It says, "Dear Tati, can we please learn tomorrow at 7:15 a.m. and you wake me up at 7." And then I stopped over there. I read this during the Monday night when we had this Yom Ha'idor. He said, "You forgot the most important word I forgot to read. I don't know his name. Love. He said, love to the father's most important word." And they signed his name. It says, "Unreal credit due to your push." So why don't we talk about the successes we have when we're pushing about things? Everybody's always there's an imaginary idea that if only we can go there, wow.